Hey Econ students, I'm Mr. Betas and welcome to Betas' Economics. Today we're going to be learning about Keynesian Economics. And hold on for the ride because your knowledge is going up! John Maynard Keynes, who says his own name wrong, wrote the general theory of employment, interest, and money after a pretty bad time in history called the Great Depression. Apparently he was a pretty bad writer, but people liked the book anyway. I just wish Mr. Latour felt the same way. Keynes introduced two new major ideas. First, he stressed the importance of the short-run effects of shifts in aggregate demand and aggregate output, rather than the long-run view of aggregate price level. Until this revelation, most macroeconomists had ignored the short-run curves. In other words, Keynes was the first to say that short-run aggregate supply actually affected the real GDP of a nation and a country's employment. Secondly, and more simply, Keynes was the first economist to introduce business confidence as a relevant tenet of economics, which he called animal spirits, which frankly is kind of weird, but whatever. Before him, classical economists maintained that the money supply was the root cause of economic changes like shifts in aggregate price level or output. But Keynes' insight accurately explained the intangible reasons why the economy sucks sometimes. Oh, it's time for the mystery document.
The most important theoretical economic writing since Marx's Capital, or if only classical economics is to be considered as comparable, since Ricardo's Principles, what he has done triumphantly and conclusively is to demonstrate the falsity, even from a capitalist standpoint, or the most cherished practical morals of the orthodox economists, and to construct an alternative theory of the working of capitalist enterprise so clearly nearer to facts that it will be impossible for it to be ignored or set aside.
Keynesian economics is basically the belief that by stimulating the demand in the economy, the entire economy can be stimulated. Keynesian economists refute the general idea that by lowering wages, they can bring up full employment. Keynesian economists argue that factories won't hire back workers because there's no demand in the market for their goods to sell. He also defined output GDP as the sum of consumption, investment, government spending, and net exports, the modern standard for calculating GDP. Well, has Keynesian economics ever been successfully implemented into a country? Let's look at our thought bubble.
U.S. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt was a strong proponent of Keynesian economics. Keynesian economics is sometimes known as demand-side economics, and this was the idea behind the New Deal. The focus of the New Deal was to stimulate the demand in the economy to bring it out of recession. The first step was to bring in the NRA, the National Recovery Agency, which focused on eliminating unfair competitive practices. Later, the NRA was declared unconstitutional and disbanded. He continued to work to create more jobs in the economy. The logic behind this was the more people working, more people would have money to spend that would in turn boost the economy.
Thanks, Thought Bubble. The conclusion of both these main ideas was that the government should use monetary and fiscal policy to smooth out the business cycle in hot recession, a tactic that was kind of used to solve the Great Depression and more recently to right the economy after the Great Recession of 2008. So for that, Mr. Keynes, we thank you. I pointed. He's right there. I'm excited. That's it for this episode of Betas' Economics. Stay tuned for more exciting episodes from me, Mr. Betas.
bonus, bonus, so come